evolved within the last 5 years, and so this really creates an opportunity for us to stand in this moment and be a beacon of change for those throughout the world.
For more than 20 years, the Civil Rights Institute educated people all over the world about what happened here in the 60s and the ramifications of those actions and behaviors, not just in Birmingham, but across our country over the course of the last 50 plus years. I think where we're going as an institute is to really be a beacon of hope for people grappling with whether it's civil rights, equality, the same types of issues that took place here that are manifesting in many different ways in different parts of the world, here in our country and in other countries, really a beacon of hope and inspiration for people to accomplish the same type of thing, which is at least a commitment to equality for all.
This is a unique moment, I think, for the area. I think for the state. Tourism has evolved within the last 5 years, and so this really creates an opportunity for us to stand in this moment and be a beacon of change for those throughout the world.
For more than 20 years, the Civil Rights Institute educated people all over the world about what happened here in the 60s and the ramifications of those actions and behaviors, not just in Birmingham, but across our country over the course of the last 50 plus years. I think where we're going as an institute is to really be a beacon of hope for people grappling with whether it's civil rights, equality, the same types of issues that took place here that are manifesting in many different ways in different parts of the world, here in our country and in other countries, really a beacon of hope and inspiration for people to accomplish the same type of thing, which is at least a commitment to equality for all.
This is a unique moment, I think, for the area. I think for the state. Tourism has evolved within the last 5 years, and so this really creates an opportunity for us to stand in this moment and be a beacon of change for those throughout the world.
For more than 20 years, the Civil Rights Institute educated people all over the world about what happened here in the 60s and the ramifications of those actions and behaviors, not just in Birmingham, but across our country over the course of the last 50 plus years. I think where we're going as an institute is to really be a beacon of hope for people grappling with whether it's civil rights, equality, the same types of issues that took place here that are manifesting in many different ways in different parts of the world, here in our country and in other countries, really a beacon of hope and inspiration for people to accomplish the same type of thing, which is at least a commitment to equality for all.
This is a unique moment, I think, for the area. I think for the state. Tourism has evolved within the last 5 years, and so this really creates an opportunity for us to stand in this moment and be a beacon of change for those throughout the world.
For more than 20 years, the Civil Rights Institute educated people all over the world about what happened here in the 60s and the ramifications of those actions and behaviors, not just in Birmingham, but across our country over the course of the last 50 plus years. I think where we're going as an institute is to really be a beacon of hope for people grappling with whether it's civil rights, equality, the same types of issues that took place here.
All right, greetings. We are now live. My name is Charles Woods, and I'm with the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And today we have a Birmingham Civil Rights Institute conversation series. Our series for this series is called Building the Beloved Community, and it's sponsored by BBVA. And today our conversation is about the talk. And the talk is that conversation that usually Black parents have to have with their children about preparing to go out into the world and coming back successfully or surviving living in America. And so just to talk about myself for a moment, I was about 8 years old when my mother gave me the talk. I grew up in a single parent household. and then she gave it again to me when I was driving age, with dealing with how to deal with the police if you get pulled over, and don't panic, and no fast movements and things of that nature. But so today we have very special guests with us. We have Mr. JJ Pruitt and Miss Cynthia Woodfin Kellum, also known as respectfully known as Mama Woodfin. And we want to say happy belated birthday to you first, Mama Woodfin. You celebrated a birthday yesterday. I think you're on mute. You may want to click yourself off of mute.
How about that?
Oh, you sound great now. We got you. And so
And thank you for
you are very welcome. And so what I want to do in just roll right into first, and we'll start with you, Mama Woodfin. When if and you choose which one you want to discuss. You can either discuss when you were given the talk and what stayed with you with that conversation, or an institute a situation where you had to give the talk, and what did you say?
Okay. First of all, I'm so glad to be here. Birmingham is my home. I was born here in 1953. So yesterday, I was privileged by God. While there are so many Americans dying, I was privileged to celebrate my birth. So I'm really happy about that. 67 years of watching Birmingham and the need for the talk. As a child myself, as a child of the African American race, and if I hesitate when I say African American, please forgive me, because I have relatives. I did history, so I did all the birth certificates. So I've got relatives that were Negroes and colored and Black and African Americans, and we're like, but we all the same people. So that talk's been going on since I can remember. So if Granny took me somewhere, she told us the talk, how to behave when we get in public. She, walk to the side, or don't do this, or hold your head down, or don't stare at them, that kind of thing. And that was just a general on how to survive in America, 50, 60 kind of era. So when I had my first child in 1973, wasn't too much better. Not really, not too much better at all, but better. It was different. How about different?
Yeah.
I'm not going to use the word better, because better for me would be the time when we don't have to say the talk anymore. Mm-hmm. That would be better for me. When I ever hear that, I'm hearing generations. Okay, I had kids, my kids have kids, and that talk is still relevant and important. So when my children went out in public, mine was just behave, period. So you could be of another color, or you could be the same color, behave. But when my children start getting ready to drive, and I know for a fact, because my kids as kids have been in the car with me when I have been stopped by the police myself. And I gotta say this: put your hands in your lap. Don't move. Don't say anything. Be still. And I'm stopping, and it says, there's a cop to the left, there's a cop to the right, with a hand on a pistol already. Did you know your lights out? No. So I'm thinking to myself, why is your hand on the gun? Because my light's out. Well, I've got this car, and I thought it came on automatically. I just didn't turn them on. So no, I didn't know I was driving without my lights out. I would never drive without my lights out, or something to that nature like that. But when my kids start driving themselves, now I got to have a more detailed save your life talk. Mm-hmm. And so this detailed save your life talk got to be, when you're driving, a cop stops you, put your both hands on the steering wheel where they can see you. Don't move. Don't automatically reach for nothing. Let them ask you for something. And when you get ready to move, ask, can you move? So that you can stay alive. Well, I got to tell a child I gave birth to, they got to stay alive just because God blessed them to be beautifully African Americans. It's a gift to be an African American. So why can't I have this talk with you? I love my kids. That's why I gotta have this talk with you. I
Exactly.
want you to come back when you leave. So, and it's not just about driving, it's anything. If they say somebody says anything wrong to you, but I gotta have this talk. And I believe today that's why my son is alive. Because he knows. This is what I said. We're not gonna argue with the police. They got the badge, they got the gun. If they wrong, we'll handle it when we get to court. But we're not gonna argue with the police. On the end.
I hear that. Not to cut you off real quick, Mama Wolfen, but I hear that a lot. You know, we always hear the police talk about how they want to get back home to their family, and they'll do whatever they need to be able to do that. And so now we're starting to hear that on both sides. But really quickly, I want to get you, JJ, in here, and talk a little bit about your experience with the talk.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, by the way. My talk was kind of similar to yours. The first time I was given the talk, I was 10 years old. I'm from a community, Hobson City, which is near the Oxford-Anniston area. And for those of you who know that, you know, Anniston was one of those areas where the bus with the Freedom Riders was bombed. You know, I kind of know that area. It's about 10, 12 minutes from where I grew up. So my mom had to have that talk with me about 10 years old. On the other side, which was a 5-minute walk to Oxford, you know, there were some guys who just really didn't want to have young African-American guys around at the barbershops or the game rooms and stuff like that. So similar to yours, Charles, my mom had to talk with me again when I was of driving age. And of course, the same things that Mama Woodfin talked about, you know, it is, you know, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I was always taught to put my 2 hands out the window when the police was coming and wiggle my fingers, just to make sure that they knew that I had nothing in my hands and both of my hands were outside of the car. So that was 10 and 16 were the times that I had the talk, as you might say.
Wow. And I'm glad you said that about the hands out the window. I had a situation once when I was pulled over, and the police officer actually got belligerent with me because I was doing everything you said to do, Mama Wolfen. I said, sir, you asked me for my license and registration. Is it okay for me to go for my wallet? My wallet is in my back pocket. I'm sitting on it. I'm reaching for my wallet. Is that okay? And he was like, man, what do you think? What is this? Like, why are you acting like this? And I said, sir, I'm a young black man being pulled over by the police. Things happen. I want to make sure that those things don't happen to me. And he kind of understood, but he still felt like I was going above, like overboard, like I was doing too much, and I was kind of dramatizing it. But that kind of goes right into our next question, which is, do you believe that these conversations are beneficial to saving young black lives? Mama Wolfen, you can start.
I sure do. I do believe they save young black lives. I believe they save old black lives. I believe they save black lives, period. I sure do. Because, may I clarify something right up front?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a retired teacher, so I've invited police to my classroom for kids, so kids can know that you can call the police when you need help. Policemen are good people, because policemen are people, just like I used to tell the kids, preachers are people, teachers are people, so policemen are people. And so I wanted them to know, I don't want you to walk around afraid of somebody's called a policeman. So it breaks my heart that I gotta have this talk to make sure you're doing right. I mean, now I got a granddaughter. She's only 20. I had to talk with a 20-year-old granddaughter. Why am I having that talk with her? Because I know it does happen. So as a result of seeing what I've watched in the news, you know I saw that, you know who I saw at the traffic stop, and you know what happened to the girl at the traffic stop. Need I call her name? Because I don't mind calling names. I'll call them in a minute. I will. I'll call them in a minute. So you stopped a woman at a traffic stop, and she's dead. I don't want my granddaughter dead. So yeah, we have to have this talk to save lives, but we need a two-sided talk. I like to see in roll call. I like to see a reform when they are training a policeman to say, if you got any kind of stereotype in your head because somebody black, don't automatically assume they're going to do something to you. At the same time, I want our black people to know, just because you see a cop, don't automatically think he or she's going to do something to you too. But remember, they got the badge, they got the gun.
AJ, what do you think about that?
These talks are definitely beneficial to save lives. And as Mama Woodfin was saying, I want to make sure that everybody knows that I don't think police officers are bad at all. I do think just like there are, and I'll use the analogy because Mama Woodfin is a teacher, there are some teachers who cannot reach you. And there are some police officers with their actions cannot reach you the same way. So when we have these talks, yes, I don't want police officers to think that everybody is afraid of them or that something is going on. It's the fact that we were told by our loved ones, just like they were told by their loved ones, to make it home. And that is the reason why I think these talks are important, that they save lives. Because as you said, whatever happens, as long as you get home, that's all that matters. We'll deal with it later. And that's what all of us have been taught, but I respect the police. Me and my wife's organization, the Dannon Project, we work with the police hand in hand. So I love what they do. They are the ones, and we have these discussions all the time. The people who are at risk or the ones who have been incarcerated, they get to ask the police, hey, why do you do certain things the way you do? And the police get to ask these guys, hey, why do you do certain things the way you do? So these talks are important, not just for us to be talking, but for the police and for the community to talk about it. And I'll talk about some ways that I think are coming up a little bit later on about how I think this can change the community in a whole.
Okay, great. That's perfect. And we will be asking that question particularly. And so when I originally thought about this program, and I've been thinking about it for quite a while, one thing that popped in my mind was that a lot of the tactics that police use today evolved out of the Fugitive Slave Act for catching runaway slaves. Things like roadblocks, stop and frisk, checkpoints, things of that nature. And so these policies keep Black people constantly engaged with the police. And so I wanted to ask you, what do you think about approaches to policing that, okay, let me ask it again. So what do you think are ways that we can change policing so that minor encounters with the police doesn't lead to a death sentence for Black people? So basically, what can we do to change some of the ways that policing is done, especially in the Black community, that will allow us to have these encounters, but it doesn't result in death for Black individuals? JJ, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, what I think needs to happen is you need to have the police come to a situation and use common sense. When I say that is, just because you come up on a scene, what seems to you may not be the case. And you can't come in there escalating a situation. You probably need to de-escalate. And that takes a lot of training, and that takes some extra money because the police are going to have to be trained a different way. Now, they are trained out the wazoo how to protect and how to arrest and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that they have to do is they have to learn now to de-escalate. I think one of the things that when you come on a scene, just because that person is Black or brown does not mean that they are a criminal. That person could be a teacher. He could be a businessman. He could be a wealthy business owner. But because you have been culturally conditioned, and I want to use that word again, because you have been culturally conditioned to think that all Black people and brown people are bad, then and it's not, and you may be thinking, oh, well, I don't think that way. Well, we are all culturally conditioned in some way to think that way. So in order for us to do that, then we've got to be able to understand that, listen, when you come up on a scene, don't automatically assume that the Black person who is there is the criminal. So that's one of the things. They've got to use common sense. They've got to come in and assess the situation as opposed to just making up their own because someone is black or brown.
All right, Mama Wolf, you want to touch on that?
I love that. I love that. That is really powerful. I love that. You know what else I love right now? I love that we're having this cross-generational conversation together, because when cross-generational conversations, you get younger people are so brilliant and they get to share what they think, like JJ just did. And older people who are blessed to be older, because God let them be, get to share what they share. And then you mix them together, and sometimes you'll find out you traveling the same road. Because I just recently told somebody, when a police come up on the scene, don't come up from the 911 call assuming the person you see yelling or upset is the criminal. They may not be the criminal at all. How about let's try de-escalating first? How about don't touch your gun? How about don't reach for your handcuffs? How about let's say, could you tell me what's going on? Because there's two people there and here's one louder than another. Like, don't automatically think he did it because Mr. Calm person over there could have started it. But they so upset and they don't know how to express themselves. So you want to grab him because Lord help, because he's a people of color, because you're conditioned culturally, just like JJ said, and he's right. All of us, including us, people of color, we got some conditional cultural issues ourselves. We even got cultural issues within the culture. So the bottom line is find out what's going on. Let's sit down with cops. Let's sit down with top cops. Let's sit down with cops who put their lives on the line every day and say, the first thing you're going to do at every call is find out what's happening before. Case in point. Not calling no names, but Mama Wolf know how to do it. Somebody sitting at a restaurant. They sleepy. Now, they got their hungry on. I don't know what caused them to have their hungry on, but they got their hungry on. That's all they got on is they hungry, right? Now, do you need to be dead because you got your hungry on? No, you don't. If you say you live down the street, how about I say, well, let's call somebody to come and get you. We might impound your car. Or call somebody to come and get you. We're going to drive your car off. You should not, in the end, wind up dead because of a cultural belief. He's going to do something to me. So I think we have got to start talking to each other. We got to start talking to each other all the time. And we got to talk within our culture, and we got to talk cross culture, and we got to talk cross generations.
Oh, I agree so much. And JJ, you kind of touched on it. One of the questions that I was going to ask, I'm not now because you already kind of covered it. But it's this idea of the presumption of guilt. And this idea of presumption of guilt that's been shrouded on the Black community through a massive propaganda campaign in the early 1900s still sticks with us today. And so when those police officers are called out into the scene and they see Black or brown people in their own training and then also in their own unconscious bias, there's this shrouded idea of the presumption of guilt on Black people. So they know somebody did it, and now they just got to figure out who they need to arrest. One of our previous conversations, we talked about what police can do in the community to help, fix those things. And one of the things that was said is that a lot of times the police don't need to be called out at all, and so we keep hearing this idea of defund the police. But really what needs to happen is a refunding to other agencies to come out for different situations. So if you have a mental health issue, police officer may not need to be called out for a mental health issue. That person needs a social worker or a doctor or whatever the case may be. And so I understand that. And so because there is this shroud of Black criminality on the Black community, I know it's difficult for police because that's, when they're called out, they come out to fix a situation, and if that looks like taking somebody to jail, which usually happens, that's what they're willing to do. But now my question is about, what do you do when you do everything correct? What do you do if you're like Philando Castile and you're following things by the book? You're telling the police officer, yes, you are a concealed carry licensed firearm carrier. You're doing all of those things that you're supposed to do. So the talk allows parents to give guidelines to help children kind of navigate those interactions with police. But when everything is done right and the result and the outcome is still bad, what do you do then? How do you try to get people to have a better respect for the police, even when people are doing the right thing, but negative things happen or people still lose their lives? What do you all have to say about even when you do everything correct and you are compliant? So a lot of people say, "Oh man, he should have been compliant. Why wasn't he following the police orders?" Right? You hear that a lot now. Why
Yeah.
wasn't he following the police orders? So even when you are following the police orders and things still turn out bad,
Mhm.
what do y'all have to say about that? JJ, I'm gonna go with you this time again.
7 words for me, Charles: do whatever it takes to get home. That's what I say. And if that means, again, you pray through this situation, because as you said, we use the Philando Castile. We use that, and Philando did everything. He addressed the situation. He told them where it was, and this police officer just automatically did that. So in that situation, you just try to do whatever you can to get home. If that means being arrested, then you live. So that's what we got to teach our young kids, that, hey, this may be totally buggered. This may be wrong on every level, but at least I'm still alive. I may be in prison or I may be in jail right now, but I think I can work this out. I'm alive right now. So to me, you just do whatever it takes. If that guy tells you to get out of the car, don't wait 15, 20, 30 seconds later. Get out the car right when the order is done.
Right.
And even though it's wrong, even though it may be wrong, even though you think, man, this guy is totally bugging out on me, you do whatever he says, and then we can fix it on the back end. Just get home. That's what my mom always used to tell me. You do whatever it takes to get home. And those words always stuck with me, because I wanted to walk in that door every night, no matter what time, to be able to see her the next day. So to me, do whatever it takes to get home.
I'd like to thank you for doing what it takes to get home, because that's why you're sitting here. But he's right, Charles. Sometimes people do everything it takes to get home, and things go wrong too. So I'm gonna start with do what it takes first, our part, because we only responsible initially for our performance and our response to what they say. Get out the car. He's the law, so get out the car.
Right.
I'm not finna argue with you about, because I know what time it is. I want to go home, like JJ said. So I'm gonna get out the car. I'm mad at you for making me do it, but I'm gonna get out the car. Because just because I decide not to get out the car, JJ, I won't go home. In most cases, I'm a person of color. You can be your generation, could be me. You this color, you're not going home. You don't get out that car. And that's just all it is too. And all they got to say is you didn't comply. They're the law. So I'm not, but at the same time, I don't want the young people to feel like, oh, that's being a coward. That's old school. No, that's live school. We forget old school. I want to stay alive too. Don't you?
I like that.
Let's go to
Yes,
live.
ma'am.
Let's forget about old school. Let's start doing live school. Because at the same time, cops want to go home too. They want to go home to his mom. There's cops who want to go home to their mama. Not only their wife and their son and their daughter, their mama. So they want to go home. You want to go home. How can we fix this so it doesn't escalate to me or you being dead, or escalate to next thing you know, we got a riot going on for a traffic stop. For you came up and I had my hungry on. Let's don't go there. Let's just don't go there. Let's see what we can do to fix that. But at the same time, we have got to thoroughly train our polices, because I said this as a teacher. Yeah, you taught me how to teach math, science, reading, and all of that. I got that STEM backwards. I know how to do that thing. But did you teach me what to do when this daddy come up here with his pants down, he trying to start a fight? This mama walk in the door cursing. You didn't teach me people stuff. So if the teachers need to be taught personal relationships with parents, Police need to be taught personal relationships with the public.
I agree. That's excellent. And you all are rolling. Y'all are answering questions before I can ask them. That's great. One thing I do want to ask is, do you all believe that a return to community policing could help create better relationships between the community and the public and police, and that may help alleviate some of the things we're talking about today? Mama Wolf, and you. Well, no, go ahead, JJ.
Go.
Yeah, well, only if it is true community policing. Now,
Right.
you can have a police officer walk through the community and he can still be acting like a butthole, and you're going to defeat the purpose.
Yep.
A true community policing is when you go and you knock on doors and you get to know the people in the community.
That's
And
right.
the way you do that is by playing basketball with the young kids, letting them know that, hey, I'm just a human too. I may have a badge and a gun, but I'm here with you. I want to be here to stop crime and violence. So
Right.
if true community policing, yes, that's what needs to be done. I mean, you look back on all of the police organizations across the country, the ones who do true community policing, those are the ones that have a reduction of crime. I mean, it's just point blank. I think that this can be done here in Birmingham and all across the other cities, but it has to be true community policing in my eyes. And the way we do that is by getting to know the community. Don't just walk through and bark out commands. Go through and get to know the people so that they know you by a first name basis and you know them by a first name basis. That, I think, community policing, if done correctly, will definitely work.
Let me add something to that, Mama Wolfen, before you begin. Let me add something to that. Do y'all think it's mandatory that police should live in the communities that they police?
Short answer for me, yes.
The answer for me is I would like to see it, but I wouldn't make it mandatory. If you are true community policing, you're like JJ, you're on the ground. There's a difference between boots on the ground and boots on the neck.
Wow. I'm going to write that one down, Mama Wolfen.
It's different. So you can live in Timbuktu. If this is your community that you're supposed to be do community policing, when you clock in until you clock out, you need to know that Mama Wolfen live at this house. So if I have a graduation party for my kid and Miss, don't call names, Miss you, and says that my music too loud, and that's what community policeman is gonna, don't come here trying to make us feel bad, bust up our party because we people of color and Miss is not. What you need, if you're a community person, you can say, you would know. That's her child's graduation party. I know about that graduation party. She told me about it. I'm sorry the music is disturbing you. I'll talk to her. And then you roll on around here. You get a barbecue plate from me because you're a community police.
Right, exactly.
You say, Mama Wolfen, your neighbor says the music too loud. And they say, oh, I'm so sorry. I need to call and tell her I'm sorry. I'm going to take her a plate. And then you got relationships starting. So just like Jay said, true community policing. No, I wouldn't require your house gotta be in this neighborhood. Because listen, I know the lady next door, and Miss. And I know the lady across the street. So if the policeman live here, what am I do? Poor man, he can't have a family. I'm gonna go over his house every time something go wrong. Everybody gonna be calling him. Officer Pruitt, Officer Woods, look what's happening on down there. Miss gonna call him all day. So no, he don't have to live in the neighborhood to make it work.
Yeah. And Charles, can I interject? Can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
Many people know the country of China. Everybody, we call it China, but everybody in China calls it, it's translated our land. That's what they call China, our land. So when I hear Mama Wolfen discuss that, it needs to be my community. So that's when everybody is out there doing that. So when the police are, even though they don't live there, when they're in that community, it needs to be one together saying my community.
Yes.
And if people realize that, then they know that this is their community and they do whatever it takes. Then the police officers don't need to say, well, hey, I just work there. They need to be saying, this is my community that I'm doing it with. Yes. And so I just wanted to interject with that.
I like that.
Excellent points. This is going so well. One question I wanted to kind of throw in here, and we may have alluded to it already a little bit, but we know that black people in America are about 13% of the population, but blacks make up about 49% of the prison population. So blacks are incarcerated at a much higher rate than whites in this country. Why do you think blacks encounter the police more than other demographics in this nation? And we've alluded to it a little bit, but I'm really curious to think of to hear what you all think of the reason why blacks encounter police more than anybody else. Mama Wolfing, you want to start us off with that one?
I used to love the Tom Journal show when he used to say, "Hidden racism." I used to love to hear him say that because that's a fact that it starts way at the top, and it started so long. When I was a younger woman, I said, maybe one day all the mean racist people are gonna die. My brain didn't think, oh, they got children. And then their children got children. Right. And just like you pass on wealth, for those of us who got it, or you pass on land, you can pass on racism too. So if systemic racism been going on so long that it's still passed on, we need to break that chain. And so if we haven't broken it yet, because even in sentencing, we still have judges that will send a dude down the street, man, he was just getting his high on. Not that I'm trying to indicate people should get their high on, but do you need to be in prison for getting your high on? Let's do something else with you to encourage you. Whereas this joker right here, he got a whole business in that mansion. And he's going to get a slap on the hand if you get that, or go ahead and pay out for $100 or meet you at the golf course. It's true. It's real. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't.
I know you're right.
Well, my response to that, Charles, is, I think that, blacks encounter police more because police patrol black communities more. That's point blank. I mean, if you drive through Mountain Brook, just go and see if you can have a friend in Mountain Brook and you just sit there. Police are not patrolling the neighborhood looking for someone breaking in or everything. What they do in predominantly African-American neighborhoods, they're literally going there to find something. They don't do that in Mountain Brook, in Vestavia, and Hoovers. Now, if they encounter something, they take action. Right. But that's the difference. They go into the black communities looking, because as we can tell, I'm in the media, I hear stories all the time about, hey, this is how we get revenue. Don't do this. You've got to make sure that you have a quota, this and that. They get that quota from the black community. I mean, just point blank. Ever since the days of slavery, when policing was birthed from slaves running away, that's when they made the police patrol. Ever since that day, they have been actually making sure that the communities where black people live, that's where we need to go to make sure that that's where the crime is, because that's what they have been taught from cultural conditioning all the way back to the 1800s. So the reason blacks are encountered with police more is because police are taught to patrol those areas more. They're taught to patrol those areas to find crime. And that's just my opinion on that.
Oh, no, and I agree. Mama Wolfman, did you have something you wanted to say about that?
He is right on that. I mean, like I said, born in 53, so I've seen it. And I've lived in different places for 67 years. I mean, I've been in one place now for 29 years, but I've lived in different places. And he is right about that. If that's the area you patrol the most, that's the number of people you're going to stop the most. And if you patrol black communities more, you're going to arrest more black people. And if you stop them, and for it, probable cause. Okay, so my lights out. Just tell me to turn my lights on. And then that's it. I don't need a ticket. I don't need a warrant. Right. I don't need to get out the car. You said my lights was out. That's the end of that. So let that go. So our prisons are packed with people who were stopped just because they're Black, right? Sometimes right in their own neighborhood. They went to get the bread, they were turning on their bread street. I got stopped 1 block from my house one time, 1 block, because he's coming through the neighborhood, in a neighborhood that was predominantly Black. Did I say predominantly? I apologize. I don't remember any white people in that neighborhood. It was real Black.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, so just to keep the conversation rolling, we're going to start talking about some solutions, or what the idea of how we can fix some of these things and make our society a better place, so that we won't have to have the talk anymore in the future, hopefully. So my question is this: what can the Black community do as a collective to address policing issues and create positive change in the Black community? So this is a community question. What can we as the community do to address policing issues and create positive change in the Black community? Go ahead, JJ. You look eager to answer that question.
Well, I think what the Black community needs to do is we got to sit down with the mamas and the daddies and have a round table with the kids. And first and foremost, tell the kids that, you know, in a traditional world, guys, the police are there to protect and serve us. And in order for us to do that, then we've got to get to know these police officers. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to have constant communication with the police. And the way you do that is the police, they need to be in the neighborhood doing more activities other than patrolling and stopping you and making you think that you are bad because the police say, hey, what are you doing? I mean, just walking down the street. You know, we've been arrested. You've been arrested for selling water. You've been arrested for barbecuing. I mean, at some point, you just go say, what can't we do? You know, what can we do? So I think what the Black community needs to do is they need to just have conversation after conversation with each other, and have, you know, fish fries together, and have the street come together and say, hey, how can we get the police to come through here and not treat our kids like criminals? Well, let's invite Officer Dan over here, eat a couple of pieces of fish. Officer Dan, listen, we got some good kids here, man. When you come through, when you guys roll up, man, don't do that kind of stuff right there, man. Just talk to these kids like normal kids. First of all, an 8-year-old kid is not an adult. He's a child. And so you got to treat him as a child, you know. And so that's my opinion. I think there just needs to be more conversations, couple of fish fries, couple of fried chicken festivals, and let's just talk and just let the police know that, hey, not everybody in this neighborhood is a drug addict or a criminal. Some of these kids are in awe of you, and they just want to be able to see you. Maybe they will want to be a police officer if you present a better light to them. So that's my opinion.
That's a good opinion. It is. I like to see unity in capital letters and bold print at the end of community. I like to see us really start unifying with one another in our neighborhoods, and that we look out for one another first before expecting someone else to look out for us. And once we start looking out for each other, then all of us together expect for the police to look out for us, because the police are trained to protect and serve. They're trained to protect and serve everybody. So you ride up on a hostile scene, you're not trained to serve and protect the person who dialed the 911 only. You're trained to serve and protect them both. When you get through, they both should be all right, because you trained to serve and protect. You're not trained to serve and protect just a caller. You're trained and serve. You were trained to serve and protect everybody on the scene. So start being a part of the community. Love what you say, JJ. Love it, because I'm having a cookout, and an officer stops by. That makes me happy. An officer stopped by, and I'm sitting in the yard, and my dog running in the yard. He says, "That is a sharp-looking dog. Man, that's a nice dog." I said, "Thank you so much." I felt so good, because he's holding a conversation. Is he not? You live here? He's not questioning me like that. Or if I'm walking down the street because I decide I'm gonna take a walk, and some people are staring like, what are you doing here? And so I want the office to be a part of, I'm gonna live and live there. Everything good. Everything's good. Fish fry this weekend, man, I'm going back. I'm picking me some fish. Basketball game going down there, just basketball in the street. So we need to put the unity among ourselves back into community, because that way we respect our own community first.
Mhm.
We got neighborhood associations, and I'm telling you, I've been in multiple neighborhoods, and I'm telling you, sometimes it's 10 people showing up at a neighborhood association. It says neighborhood. Hood. It's your hood. I don't care where your hood is. Your hood, Mount Brook, your hood, North Birmingham, your hood, West End, hood. So you all should be there to talk about things together with the community, and we should be inviting our police officers to our meetings. We don't meet but once a month.
Right. Agreed. And what you all are saying makes all the sense in the world to me. This what I'm about to say now is not on my list of questions. It's something that kind of just popped into my head. I grew up in California, and my mother's originally from Arkansas, and I would hear her tell stories of when she was growing up, how she would do something and get in trouble, and that her neighbors would reprimand her before she can get home and be reprimanded by her own parents. So you could literally have several whoopings before you even step home for your parents to find out what you did, and then you get that extra whooping. And so, Mama Wolfing, you said something about unity in our community, and I'm curious to see if you all think that policing your own communities, but not in the sense of like vigilante justice or walking around like the guardian angels and walking around trying to apprehend criminals, but maybe getting back to that unified Black community that used to be, where you could reprimand other people's children, where everyone looked out for the community together. Do you all feel that that type of model is also necessary in this idea of the community, the police, policing yourselves, in the sense that you want to make sure that your community is doing everything that it needs to do and is doing everything right before you get the police involved? Would you all think that that model would be something that the Black community might need to embrace as well?
I'll let you answer that first, Mama Wolf.
But I grew up in that two whippings in one day era. You get one, boy, it's not even your mama.
Right.
You bring yourself here. And then, but back when you get home, Mama already know what you did, cause Miss Sarah, Mr. Bob called her. So now you're getting two. And so you knew not to do anything because your neighbor had unity in the community. So your neighbor looked out for you and told you were wrong because your neighbor. We've got to get neighbors to go back to knowing neighbors. Right. So how are we going to have unity in a community when we don't know each other? And so that's why it's so easy to call the police for simple things, or start arguments for simple things, or fights for simple things, because you don't know each other. A community is like a house. At one point we had 16 family members in this one house. Wow. But it was the responsibility of 16 of us to keep it rolling. You think I'm gonna wash all those dishes and all those clothes for 16 people? No. I did cook all that food for them, but I wasn't gonna do all the chores too. So we work together. We were a community within our home. So first of all, we got to start being a community in our home so we can be a community in the community, so that we can get the police to respect us, that this is our community. So we expect this from you, and we plan on getting it from you. I'd rather you give it to us than us have to take it from you. So we got to be educated together.
Yes. In a nutshell, Charles, that model needs to come back. But let's get real for a second here. Yeah. These parents and these kids are a little bit different than when we were growing up. Point blank. You go as a teacher, I'm sure Mama Wolfing can tell you countless stories that your child did everything wrong. And when she came in there, she says, what are you reprimanding my child for? And the same thing in the neighborhood. If nowadays, if you go and you spank somebody's child and it gets back to the mom is going to come and try to fight you. Right. I think that model needs to come back. Yes, ma'am. Right. I think that model needs to come back, Charles. But realistically, I think it is a different generation. These parents have been raised differently than we have. There are young parents. And truth be told, through my organization, we have discovered that a lot of parents really don't care for their kids very much. So you've got grandma who are trying to raise the kids, who's trying to teach them the old school way, but grandma's making $800 a month and she's trying to raise 6 grandkids. And it's just, it would be lovely if we could have that model back, but we've got to find some new inventive ways to do it now, because this generation, these parents and these kids, truth be told, they're just different than the way we were raised. I wish that there was an easier way for me to say that. I wish that we could do that, Mama Wolfman, because I got 2 or 3 whoopings on the street one time, so I wish that we could go back to that model, but I just think the parents today just won't allow
it. Charles, I got to interject for 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
I got to save JJ right quick. I agree with what you said, but even my ears went beep. I said, he said they don't care for their children. You better fix that quick. They're going to come get you. You don't mean they don't care for their children. What you mean is the grandparents are raising the children.
Yes.
That's what you mean, because
yes,
you got a good heart. You mean some of them act like they don't care. Act like they don't care. Because we got some young mamas on here. We got some young daddies on here. So I'm surprised they ain't typing now. So
I would welcome them to type, because I'm telling you, I have seen it, Mama Wolf, and I would love to sit up and say that I'm wrong, but I hope that I'm wrong.
No, you're not. I don't even want you to feel the word "I'm wrong." I just wanted you to shuffle your words.
Yes, ma'am. I will do that.
The younger generation is different.
Parents, care for your kids. Love your kids unconditionally, please.
Care for your kids. You want your grandmama to help you. If they live over your grandmama's house, you still the parent. You still need to be helping out, and you need to be communicating in unity with the grandparents. So when we call somebody to come up to the school, we ain't looking for grandmama. You come up there. You come up there if you want there. Do that smack and start and that mess with me. I got something for you. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the younger generation are different. Again, I'm different from my daddy and mama's generation too. Mm-hmm. I'm not the same way. Mm-hmm. I don't have the same experience. I don't talk the same thing. I haven't done the same things and daddy and mama are different than granddaddy and grandmama. And so I remember going to grandmama's house, but my mom and daddy were the law. And they said, act up over there if you want to. Act up over your grandmama's house if you want to and see what happened. Where it's flipped. Now some grandmamas and some, we're going to do some. Because I know a person, but I don't want to call his name. It makes me sick though. He never says some. He just blanketly called out everybody in that group. So we're going to say some young people let their grandparents raise their children. And their expectations are different. Their roles are different. And I know some people call some generations the me generations. It doesn't always mean, it means the same thing it meant when I was my age. I was trying to get my groove on, but I still cared about others. Right. Whereas some in the me generation, for real, just care about me. And grandma can keep them all day, 24/7, 365, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to drop by there on Sunday to eat. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. So as we start to finish up, I want you all to share with us your closing thoughts on how we can take collective responsibility to ensure the safety of our children and youth when encountering the police. I know we talked a lot about a lot of different things, and it shows that we have a long way to go, right? Just a lot of things that as in the Black community that we can work on personally, collectively, to help make our community a better place and a better space for all of us. And I tell my wife all the time, I say, well, we have a long way to go, and I'm willing to do the work, but we have a long way to go. So what do you all think are your closing thoughts on how we can take collective responsibility to ensure the safety of our children and youth when encountering the police?
I'll go first because I think it should always end with a mama speaking. So I think Mama Woodfin's words should be the closing ones.
I was thinking I'm gonna let the younger generations end it. See that?
I want to first thank you, Charles, and thank the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute and the sponsors for having this conversation, and for the people who were making comments. And I wish that I had all the answers. I don't have the answers. You know, I grew up in a small town, 50 miles from here, experienced some of the same things that everybody else here in the city did. You know, my mom and grandma told me stories, same stories that Mama Woodfin said. But I do know this. I do know that everyone inherently has a love for each other. And if we could just teach that to everybody, that means that police officers, when they go out and they put that badge on and they go into the neighborhood, they need to know that that is a person. They need to know that that is a child, that that is someone's brother, someone's sister, someone's uncle, someone's aunt. I know that they want to get home, but everybody wants to get home. So what do I say? I say communication between the police officers and the community is one of the first things that we need to do. And Mama Woodfin, if Mayor Woodfin can just have a police and pizza event, let's have the community eat pizza, buy pizza, and invite the police over, and let's have a pizza party with the police, and let's talk it out. Let's hash it out every week if we have to, until everybody starts respecting each other. That, to me, is one of the ways that we can probably get things going immediately. Communication between the police and the community, especially the Black community, because police don't go into Mountain Brook looking to find thieves and all of that kind of stuff. They go because it's their job. They need to do the same thing when they come to the Black communities. They don't need to come in thinking that they're going to find something bad. They need to come in to protect and serve just like everywhere else. And I think that starts with communication. And that's my 2 cents.
I like that, JJ. Really quick, I'm gonna have to coin that: pizza, police, and the people.
Yes.
Y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard it here first.
I like
that. That is awesome. It is. It is. I want to first thank so much. The Birmingham Civil Rights Institution is such an honor to even have it in our city. I really want to make sure that the city is more aware of it. Someone posted one day, says, I've got a friend coming into town. I want some things I need to do. Can y'all give me some entertainment suggestions? So she was not of color. So I said, take her to the Birmingham Civil Rights Institution. No response. And I said, didn't think you were going to respond, but you need to, because you're going to teach what's going on within the city. You're going to find out where we were, how far we come, and how far we need to go. So we've got a long way to go. I want to thank God for where we are now. I want to thank you with all my heart. I do. I love the peace of police people idea. It is an amazing thing to do. We really need to do that. And I think because we've got to let everybody know that we're good. This platform right here, I'd like to see this platform more. But guess who I'd like to see on the platform added? A policeman. I would like to see
children and teenagers
and a teenager.
Right.
And a 10-year-old. What you think about the police? Well, my mama said. No. What do you think about the police?
Right.
Hey, teenager, what do you think about the police? I want to see my Black brother walk down the street, and I don't want the police to stop him to say, hey, come here. Where you going? He's walking down the street. You have no reason to stop him, period. He's walking. I mean it. That's just so ridiculous. He's walking. He's not doing anything. So leave him alone. If you were police in Mountain Brook and you saw Joe Blow walking, would you say, hey, come here? No, you're not going to stop Joe Blow. And you don't know what he's going to do. He'd be trying to get his something on too. So what I'm saying is Stop treating us like we so different. And when I mean different, different is not a bad word. God did this. He decided, I'm gonna make some black folks, and I'm gonna make some white folks and some yellow folks. He decided this. And so remember now, many people came over to America for opportunity, but we were brought. And when that Constitution was written, it was purposely not intending us. So it took too long. I was 12 years old when the Civil Rights Amendment was put in there. What am I doing 12 years old when they just now amending that? My mother and my father can go down and vote without somebody doing something to them. Get rid of all of that. We are different on purpose because we were chosen to be different on purpose. But we are beautiful difference. Just like some white people are beautiful difference, and some Indians and some Hispanics are beautiful difference. We were chosen. So I would like to see more platforms on here. And I'm telling you, had a policeman, had a child. Because I think if we can all sit down and do this more, this would happen more and more regularly, like JJ said, regular events. Because not just kickoff events. We have kickoff events, and I like kickoff events. But if you don't keep it up, it's not gonna work. If you teach a child how to drive around the empty parking lot, and that's all you do, you put that child on that street, they're gonna take somebody out. You gotta keep teaching them till you feel okay. I'm gonna let you loose now, so they can come back, JJ, home.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Charles, let me just interject one last thing. And
yes,
my favorite songs is a quote from Jesus Christ. And my good friend Mike Holland, who is one of your tech guy, he'll know this song well. It's a quote from Jesus Christ, and it said, "As I have loved you, love one another." And if we all do that right there, then I think it'll be a better place.
You will. Have you heard Latest Night version? It's awesome.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Check that out. I have it. I had to check that out. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule today to have this conversation that we feel is really important that people need to hear. I just also want to thank BBVA for being our sponsor of our Building the Beloved Community.
Yeah.
And also just want to say that we're going to continue to have these conversations every Thursday at noon, a different theme each time. So please, if you are following our Facebook page, be on the lookout for those conversations coming down every week, and so that we can continue to have these conversations so that hopefully we can build something to have a better future. And that's what the Institute is here for. The Birmingham Civil Rights Institute is here to teach people about the past, in the present, right, to chart a better future. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Really quickly, JJ, I would like you to tell the public a little bit about the Dannon Project if they're not familiar. You all are doing great work over there, and I just want to have the opportunity to kind of highlight what's going on over there really quickly.
Well, thank you. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that first started out with helping those previously incarcerated with job training, housing, and reentry services. We have since, in the last 20 years, expanded to young adults, young mothers and fathers, getting out of the cycle of poverty by teaching them and giving them job training for a career. And to date, we've had about 9,000 people come through our doors, and only about 50 have gone back to prison. And we like those odds. We wish that those 50 didn't go back. And basically, our goal, my wife always says, this is a mission from God for us to help as many people as possible. An organization that was named after my youngest brother, who was killed by a good friend of mine. So keep us in your prayers and continue to help us work with the police so that we can make this community a better place, because I love the police. I love what they do for us. And I know that our participants love the police as well once they get to know them.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Well, thank you. I'll thank you all again. I just want to let everyone know that all of these conversations are being recorded, and the previous ones can be seen on our YouTube page. And so, Mama Wolfman, we did have a conversation with Deputy Chief Davenport as representative for the police several weeks back. So if you go on our YouTube page, you can check out that conversation and see what he had to say about community policing and what he thinks we can do to bridge that gap between the police and the community. Once again, thank you all. I think everything went very well today. And I'm excited about what the future looks like.
Me
So
too.
I'm gonna sign off now. I hope you all have a good rest of your day.
See you
And
all.
once again, thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, Mama Whipping. Bye, Charles.
Bye.